I want to give honors and thanks to some of the people that paved the way for me to be able to talk like this on this channel. I want to give honors and thanks to Marie Laveau. And if it wasn't for this free sister, we wouldn't be able to talk about voodoo and voodoo so freely. I want to give honors and thanks to the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have a concept of how to create an economic movement and an international economic movement, and how to do business on an international level. I want to give honors and thanks to Aleister Crowley, because if it wasn't for Aleister Crowley, we wouldn't be able to talk about the occult so freely and so openly. I want to give honors and thanks to Noble Drew Ali, one of our patriarchs, because if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be able to even know our national name. When I say we, I'm speaking of those particular people that were reduced to corporate fictions and reduced to being Negroes, black people, and colored people. I want to give honors and thanks to the Empress, Vernadisi Golston L, because if it wasn't for her, there would be no national movement that took root out of Texas. Texas is very important when you talk about the South, when you talk about the free people in the South. I want to give honors and thanks to Brother C.M. Bay from out of Ohio, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be able to talk about astrology so openly and so freely, and we probably wouldn't even have a school that took root and was able to expand so rapidly. I was taught by a lot of the students of C.M. Bay. You can research C.M. Bay. He started an organization called The Clock of Destiny, talking about how astrology rules our everyday lives and our everyday affairs. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because there's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of organizations. There's a lot of groups and things of that nature. And one thing that all of these people have in common, no matter their skin color, no matter their so-called race, the fact that they're all nationals. No matter what fraternal order they're in, whether they are Freemasons or whatever they are, they were all nationals. Very key here. And I represent and am a part of the Moorish Divine National Movement. I get a lot of emails of people asking me or telling me that there are more. And I'm addressing people of melanated skin tone that are up under 14th Amendment status here in this country. And they tell me that either they are a Moor or they want to become a Moor. And they think just because someone creates some paperwork for them, or just because they know a few things and studied up under a few Moors, that that's enough to consider themselves a national. And I'll tell you this: you want to be a sovereign, you want to be a free people, it's not about how much money you got. Money doesn't make the man and the woman. It's about being able to trace yourself back to a national standard, which is a flag. You have to be able to trace yourself back to that, because at the end of the day, no matter what organization you're in, all organizations exist up under the 14th Amendment. And even those organizations that are chartered, because there are organizations that are chartered, those chartered organizations still had to get signatures from nationals that sat in the officials. That's right, officers that sit in certain seats. I'm saying this because, again, there's a lot of confusion. People think just because they're some high up member of some organization that gives you authority and that gives you juice. And it doesn't. The only thing that gives you authority and juice is your nationality and being able to trace yourself back to who you are. The only thing that will make peace, the peace here on this planet, is not a religion, because that's an organization too. It's going to be people accepting their nationality. One of our patriarchs said that everyone must worship up under their own vine and fig tree. So it's up to you as a person to do your own research on yourself. This is why saving, you can only save yourself at the end of the day. You cannot save anybody, because you have to know who you are before you can save anybody. Just because you get someone to be in your organization does not mean you save them. Just because you got them to be into your temple does not mean you save them. The only way to save a people is to teach them, to help people to save themselves, is to teach them to know more. There's a lot of confusion with people thinking that just because they are standing next to a Moor, or just because they may have learned a couple of things from a Moor, that they're now a Moor. And don't let anyone confuse you. You have to go before the sheiks. Speaking of those people that are up under 14th Amendment citizenship, if you want to release yourself from the yoke of that, not only you have to proclaim it, you have to research what the term proclaim means. A proclamation must be done before a certain type of body, a certain type of council, among certain type of officers. So if you going around calling yourself a Moor, putting an L and Bay on the end of your name, and you haven't went to go see the sheiks, don't be surprised if one day they sit you down some kind of way, or they pull you to the side, pull your coattail, or even go to the government and tell them that they don't know who you are, and they have the right to do that. You see, we all exist up under the Constitution at the end of the day. And there's first-class citizens, there's different classes of citizens, there's second-class citizens. First-class citizens trace themselves back to the First Amendment. Second-class citizens trace themselves back to the 14th Amendment. And if you trace yourself back to the 14th Amendment, there are certain things you can't do. You can't be a sovereign and be a 14th Amendment citizen at the same time. And it's not enough to just say that you're not. That's where I'm getting at. It's not enough to just go before a judge and write up some paperwork and get somebody to do it for you and say that you're not. You have to be able to trace yourself back. What makes you an elite, what makes you an ADAT, what makes you an official, is the fact that you can go before any nation or any council or any body and trace yourself back to your origins, your essence. So I'm saying all that to say that we cannot ever forget where we came from. We can't get into the sovereignty movement and think that it's all about money, because it's not. It's not even about money at all. We don't even have real money anyway. And a sovereign, a real true sovereign, deals in gold and in real money. We have what's called fiat notes, this is corporate. This is going into corporate law. So a lot of people think that they don't have to pay taxes, and they think that calling yourself a Moor is going to get them out of paying taxes. No, calling yourself a Moor or Moabitess or emperor or empress or king or queen is not going to get you out of paying taxes, because taxes is based upon regulating currency, a certain type of currency. And this currency right now, which is called fiat notes, is owned by a corporation. That's right. The money that you use is owned. Someone owns it, not you. Just because you have it in your pocket or just because you have it in your bank account does not mean, and that's credit actually, what you have in your bank account. That's a different form of currency. You have credit, you have cash. But cash is owned by the queen. And when you use her notes to do business, because that's what they are, they're notes, you have to pay percentages back. And the only way to get out of paying taxes is to learn tax loopholes. That's what they're not going to teach people. And this is why a lot of people are going to jail. And this is why a lot of people are getting locked up. So at the end of the day, you can't get out of being a national. You can't get out of uniting with a national movement. Uniting with the fraternal organization is not enough. It's okay, but it's not enough. So I hope that helped people to understand how to get into the inner circle, because people always ask me, well, how do I get into the inner circle world, the high world of things? The high world of things is controlled by nationals, by Indian Americans, by Chinese Americans. by Native Americans even. If you want to get into that high road and that high world of things, not even just Chinese Americans, but Chinese in general, by Saudi Arabians in general, by Kenyans in general, by Ghanaians in general. See, these are nationals. So being a part of an organization, whether you're a Rosicrucian or whatever you are, I'm not here to knock that. You could be in that. You could be in an organization and be a national. But at the end of the day, the inner circle, the black dot of things, is based on being a part of the national movement. So I hope that helped. I thank you for listening. I thank you for watching. Until we meet again, I'll leave you in Namaste, peace, and Hotep.